It was exactly midnight, in the middle of the Rio Negro, when the boat appeared out of nowhere, silent, a few lights on, people sitting, others lie in hammocks, and a man dressed entirely in white standing at the bow, staring straight at me. It was the boat of the dead of the Rio Negro, looking for one more passenger. I am Kanauã, the shaman of my village and guardian of the mysteries of the Amazon rainforest. And this is the story my grandfather told me before he died. A story that happened to him in 1961. Every day at 8:30 p.m., the boat Estrela do Amazonas passed near the village. It carried river people, merchants, and families traveling between Manaus and the small communities along the Rio Negro in the Brazilian Amazon. Captain Valdemar was a commander, known by everyone. A good man, always immaculate, dressed in his white sailor uniform. The boat had a loud engine and a bell that always rang 3 times when passing by the villages. It was a familiar sound, marking the rhythm of life on the Rio Negro. My grandfather was a skilled and experienced fisherman. He fished pirarucas and tambaquis at night. He knew every curve of the Rio Negro and never feared the darkness. But during the week of that full moon in August of 1961, the elders felt something. The birds stopped singing at dusk. The waters grew unnaturally still. The forest was giving a warning. August 15th, 1961, 8:30 p.m. The Estrela do Amazonas docked at the pier near the village, as it always did. The bell rang normally. From the riverbank, my grandfather saw that it was full of passengers, families, children, elders, and some indigenous people. But no one knew that this might be their final journey. 9:45 p.m. My grandfather went out to fish. Midnight had not yet arrived. The full moon lit the river like daylight. Calm waters, a perfect night. He set his nets about 2 kilometers from the village. 11:30 p.m. The temperature suddenly dropped. Impossible in the Amazon. Mist began rising from the water. The river started to churn, fish jumping over his canoe. The wind picked up. Crickets and frogs grew frantic. My grandfather told me that this was the moment he felt it. Something terrible was about to happen. 11:50 p.m. He decided to return to the village. He began rowing quickly, but he was too far away. Midnight. A loud crack echoed from the north. The sound of wood breaking. Screams tearing through the night. The boat's bell ringing out of control. The Estrela do Amazonas had sunk. My grandfather heard everything. He rowed desperately toward the screams that pierced the silence of forest. He reached the spot in less than 10 minutes. He saw debris floating on the water, clothes, open suitcases, a straw doll belonging to an indigenous child. Then silence. No bodies. No survivors. No trace of the boat. 35 people had been on that boat. My grandfather had seen them waiting earlier that evening. And now nothing, as if the river had swallowed them all at once. 12:45 a.m. While searching for survivors, the fog grew denser. A distant sound. A boat engine. Impossible. There were no more boats on the river at that hour. Then he saw it. A faint light cutting through the fog. The Estrela do Amazonas. Intact. Moving slowly. As if nothing had happened. The bell ringing softly. My grandfather stopped rowing. He froze. Because he was certain that boat had sunk 45 minutes earlier. The boat approached his canoe. He saw the lit windows. The silhouettes of passengers sitting. Others lying in hammocks. Captain Valdemar, in his white sailor uniform, standing at the bow. But they were all staring at him. Pale faces, empty eyes. And then the bell rang 3 times. My grandfather told me it wasn't a sound. It was a calling. Each ring pulled at his soul, trying to draw him into the boat. He felt an overwhelming urge to swim to it. His body started to move on its own. He was already preparing to jump. But then he remembered his mother's protection chant. He began singing, voice trembling, eyes shut tight. The ghost boat stopped beside his canoe. The engine went silent. absolute stillness. My grandfather felt a presence beside him. Cold water splashed onto his face. He told me he heard a voice. It wasn't human. It came from the water, from the air, from everywhere at once. Come aboard. He didn't obey. He kept chanting the indigenous song his mother had taught him. The ghost boat's engine came back to life. It began moving away, slowly disappearing into the fog. The bell rang one last time before fading. At sunrise, around 5 a.m., my grandfather was still trembling in his canoe. Rescue teams arrived soon after. They searched for 15 days. They never found the boat, never found the bodies, never found debris. 35 people gone, as if they had never existed. September 1961. 1 month later, a fisherman from the neighboring village disappeared. Last seen fishing at midnight during a full moon. His canoe was found empty the next morning. October 1962. A river merchant vanished, also traveling alone at midnight before he disappeared. He told his wife he kept hearing screams for help and a bell ringing in the middle of the Rio Negro. November 1963. A young indigenous man vanished from the riverbank. It was midnight, full moon. His mother said he told her he heard a boat approaching. The elders noticed the pattern. Always midnight, always a full moon, always near the riverbank, always after hearing the bell. The terrible truth. The boat was hunting, trying to complete its passengers. The 35 souls, it lost one company, and they never stopped searching. My grandfather survived the encounter, but he was never the same. Every full moon, even on land, he heard the bell. He woke up screaming, saying, "They're calling me." He claimed he saw faces in the windows of any passing boat. He avoided the river at night for the rest of his life. Before he died in 1991, my grandfather grabbed my arm and said, "Kanauã, I escaped that night, but they didn't forget. The boat always returns to claim the ones it marked." August 15, 1991. Full moon, the night he died. My grandfather, old and frail at 78, sat on his hammock staring at the river. He called me and said, "Do you hear, Kanauã? The bell is ringing. This time I won't resist." They came for me. I heard nothing. But he did. He died that same night, peacefully in his sleep, with a smile on his face, as if he had finally accepted the invitation. After he died, I began investigating. I spoke with elders, old river people, those who had lived along the river for decades. What I discovered: the sinking truly happened on August 15, 1961. 35 people disappeared. The official records confirm it. They were never found. The case was filed as an unsolved tragedy. Since then, more than 30 people have vanished in the same stretch of the Rio Negro, always at midnight, during a full moon, after reporting screams for help and a bell ringing 3 times. Even today, old river dwellers refuse to travel on the Rio Negro at midnight during a full moon. When I ask why, they simply answer, "Haven't you heard it? The bell is ringing." In 2019, I myself was traveling along the Rio Negro performing a ritual. It was almost midnight, full moon. I tried to return in time, but I was late. 12:03 a.m., 3 minutes after midnight. Mist rose out of nowhere. I heard the bell, distant but unmistakable. 3 clear chimes. I didn't wait to see the boat. I rowed harder than I had ever rowed in my life. And I only stopped when I reached solid ground at the edge of the forest. Because I knew if I turned around, if I looked, I would be the next passenger. The truth I learned from my grandfather and from the forest is this: the Rio Negro never forgets, and the ghost boat still sails, still searches, still rings its bell. If you are ever near the Rio Negro at midnight, under a full moon, and you hear a bell ringing, do not look toward the river. Do not answer the call. And above all, do not board the boat. I am Kanauã, guardian of the mysteries of the night in the Amazon rainforest. And as long as the forest breathes, I will continue telling its stories, the stories it whispers only to those who know how to listen. Subscribe to this channel, like this video, and tell me in the comments, do you believe in the guardian spirits of the forest? The jungle listens, the jungle watches, the jungle never forgets, and the jungle never sleeps. Until the next moon.